Yeah, so we start with the two asset. Portfolio optimization. And both of them are risky one or the non-deterministic. So we have general term, we have two assets. The assets names are A1 and A2, right? And their return is can be given as R1 comma R2, such that expected value of I can be 1 or 2, is mu I, and the variance of Ri is sigma I square. Correct? So what we need to do is we need to find a weight. Which is W1 and W2. So if we allow short selling, W1 and W2, any one of them can take a negative value. Only thing is, if short selling is allowed, then what we need is just that W1 plus W2 should be equal to 1. And if short selling is not allowed, then what can happen is still W1 plus W2 will be equal to 1, but we will have an additional constant that all Wi is greater than equal to 0. So if we have a two assets whose return we know, what we can write is that suppose we have a portfolio where we have put our weights or W1 and W2 on the asset A1 and A2. So the portfolio, the variance of our portfolio would be the variance of W1 R1 plus W2 R2. Am I correct? Am I correct or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what would be the value here? It would be the following expression which I have written. Just look into this one. So instead of writing sigma 1 2, what I'm doing is I'm just replacing with the correlation coefficient, which is rho. So it will be sigma 1 square W1 square plus W2 square sigma 2 square plus 2 times correlation coefficient weight W1 W2 into sigma 1 into sigma 2. Is it correct? Is this expression okay for you?
Yes, sir.
All of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Correct. And the return of my portfolio would be just the weighted one with the individual return. Correct? So we start with the three cases. Now we have this information. We forget everything else what we have written. And now we have three cases. So the case one. Where the correlation coefficient is 1. Okay, before this one, let me say that if in this case, if rho is either plus or minus 1, in that case the sigma v value would be the mod value of W1 sigma 1 plus minus W2 sigma 2, isn't it? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All of you agree with this term?
Yes, sir.
Is it correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. So the case one, we are taking it when the correlation coefficient is 1. In that case, my standard deviation of the portfolio would be W1 sigma 1 plus W2 sigma 2. Still I'm writing a mode value because I don't know what will be the value of W1 and W2. It can be negative also. If we do not allow short selling, then we can get rid of this mod function. And the return would be W1 mu1 plus W2 mu2. Is it correct?
Yes, sir.
So, okay, if I give you any value, particular value of sigma 1, sigma 2, mu1 and mu2 for different value of W1 and W2, can we get a relationship between mu and sigma? Yes or no? Because we have two equations. Can you see this one? So we can actually get rid of W1 and W2 if the data has been given, and we can find a relationship between mu and sigma. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right. And that relationship would be linear. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Correct. Please raise your hand if you are getting what I'm trying to say, because what I'm trying to do is,
Sir, how they are linear related?
because sigma v and mu v both are linear. For a time being, if the data has been given, you can get rid of this mode function for a particular value of W1 and W2. Yes or no? You know what is the positive and what are the negative one? Akshat, you asked, no?
Yes, sir.
Right. So next what we are going to do is we are going to draw a mu sigma plane. Correct? And try to see, because of the linearity, if we have one value which is sigma 1, sorry, mu1 and sigma 1, and we have another value mu2 and sigma 2. Then if I put any weight here, this is what all return, and this is what all risk we will have, because the risk, if I start drawing like this, then my risk or the standard deviation would be negative. Because of the mod function, I have to take a mirror image of this, and this would be the line which consists of what all possible if I put different weight W1 and W2, what are the possible return and risk we can get. Is it clear?
Sir, this mirror image line is what? This is like a minus term or what?
What are the x-axis? What is there in the
Like
x-axis?
sigma.
It has to be the portfolio one. Let's say that sigma of the portfolio. Will it be negative? The standard deviation, can it be negative?
No, sir.
Right.
No,
So
sir.
if I draw a line, correct, I have to use the mod function here, and because of the mod function, it will be like this.
Okay, sir.
How many of you have got this point? How many of you have got this concept? Please raise your hand. Ashish,
Yes, sir.
is it okay?
Yes, sir. It's all right.
Right. So you can see this is the point. I don't know about the return. This is the point where we have a standard deviation which is equal to 0. Am I right? So this is the point
Yes,
where I can say that the risk would be 0.
Yes, sir.
Correct? Right. So suppose you have a 2 point A and B. Right? And if I try to find a linear combination of A and B such that the weights given on the point A and B, the sum is equal to 1. So if I have to go anything below A or above B, one of this weight would be negative. And if I put all the weights to be positive, I will get any point between A and B, because if I put equal weight on A and B, I'll get a midpoint. This is from the coordinate geometry. Yes or no? Do you remember this?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember this? Anuj.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
So if I have to get anything which is below A or above B, one of these weights would be negative.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Exterior,
So, huh?
exterior points की वजह से.
Yes. So what we can think, what we are getting here is if we have, you know, perfectly positively correlated, then one of the weight to get a risk is equal to 0. One of the weight should be negative. Otherwise, you know, zero risk might not be the possible one. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let's try and get that one. So we have our variance. We are not looking for the return perspective. We have neglected that part. We are just trying to find it out with the two asset. You know, what should be the weight so that the risk would be 0. But you can always put that what should be the weight so that we can minimize the risk for a particular return. So for a time being, I'm not looking for the constraint as a what should be the return. We are just trying to find it out when it can have a 0 risk or the standard deviation would be 0. So the variance of the portfolio can be given by now W1 square sigma 1 square plus W2 square sigma 2 square plus 2 W1 W2 sigma 1 sigma 2 because the rho value is 1. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's, because also we know that the W1 plus W2 should be equal to 1. So we can replace one of them. Let me write it as 1 minus S square sigma 1 square plus S square sigma 2 square plus 2 times S into 1 minus S sigma 1 sigma 2. To get a minimum risk, right, what I need to do is to get its derivative with respect to S is equal to 0. Correct? Is it correct?
Yes, sir.
All of you, is it okay?
Sir, can you
Yes,
repeat
sir.
it?
Can I?
Yeah, repeat it once more.
So now this is the risk factor and this is the equation for this. Correct?
Okay, so what is S here, sir, in this equation?
Instead of writing W1 and W2 separately, I have taken W1 is equal to 1 minus S and W2 is equal to S, so that W1 plus W2 will becomes 1. To get rid of this W1, because we have two assets now, and we know that if I know W1, I'll be able to find the value of W2. Yes or no, and vice versa.
Yes, sir.
So I have replaced this W2 and W1 with 1 minus S and S in the following expression.
Yeah, got it, sir.
So to get a minimum one, no, so the first derivative should be equal to 0 with respect to S. Correct? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you can calculate this one. The minimum value S mean would come out to be sigma 1 by sigma 1 minus sigma 2. And 1 minus S mean would come out to be sigma 2 divided by sigma 2 minus sigma 1. So if I assume that either sigma 1 or sigma 2, whichever is the greater one, let's assume that if sigma 1 is greater than sigma 2, then if S mean, which is equivalent to our W2 minimum, would be positive and W1 minimum would be negative, because if sigma 1 minus sigma 2 is positive, then sigma 2 minus sigma 1 would be negative. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
All of you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I would like you to, do this one. First part I have done it. For rho is equal to -1, you would be doing it. Right. And if I know the value of W1 and W2 now, I can get what should, put the value into the, what should be the return when the risk is equal to 0. And this is the final value which I will be getting. How many of you can derive this? Because I'm just looking into that one. How many of you can derive it? Because I've just given you the final expression. How many of you can actually derive this point? Please raise your hand. Hello. Hello.
Derive means, do you mean like substitute the values which you got?
Now, can you get the value of S mean and 1 minus S mean? That is what I'm asking. Can you get this first derivative is equal to 0 and tell me that this S mean is equal to actually sigma 1 by sigma 1 minus sigma 2? Can you do this?
Yes, sir.
How many of you can do it? Please raise your hand. Right. So now we go on to the case B.
Sir, that final expression mu v, sir, that how do we calculate it?
What is mu v?
Okay, sir. Now we can get, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You put the value of S mean and 1 minus S mean. So this would be the expression you will get. Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So now we go on to the case 2, where rho is equal to -1. In that case, what is going to happen is the return of my portfolio would be this one. Sorry, risk in my portfolio, sigma v value will be this much and return my portfolio would remain same. Am I right or wrong? Am I right or wrong?
Right, sir.
Right, sir.
Then I'm not getting any response. That's why I'm bothered whether you are right. So from here, because the sigma value cannot be negative, so I have to take the mod function. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now let's try to draw this in the mu sigma plane. Correct. So the same thing would happen. We have a point A, which is mu1 sigma 1. We have a point B, which is mu2 and sigma 2. Because I have to take the negative of this, I'll try to see this is the point B dash, which is giving me mu2 and minus sigma 2. My line should have been like this, but because of the mod, it would look like this. Do you agree with this? Look at this expression. Sorry, this expression, and try to fit that one into this linear one. Is the graph okay? It's a very simple graph. Just you need to understand that now we are taking a combination of mu1 and minus sigma 2. But because risk cannot be negative or the standard deviation cannot be negative, we have to take a mod function. We cannot see this as a that the sigma v value is a negative one. Is the graph clear to you? Ashish, Soumyadeep. Acha.
Yes, sir.
Sir, when we are saying rho minus 1, then our sigma 2 is minus. Like,
No,
like
you
how we
first you remove the mod function. Correct? First,
yes,
in a brute force method. First, we remove the mod function. So what I have is the W1 sigma 1 minus W2 sigma 2. Correct?
yes, sir.
So if I have a B which is mu1 and sigma 2, I can take a mirror image according to the y-axis and I can get a point mu2 and sigma 2 minus sigma 2.
Yes, sir.
So this is basically B and B dash I'm calling it. So if I for a timing, if I neglect the mod function, my line should line joining between A and B dash.
Yes, sir.
But because the mod function has come, it has become like this from A to B.
Okay, sir.
Correct? Ashish, is it clear? Ashish.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you look carefully, right? So now both W1 and W2 would have a positive value here. Because what is there is that my combination where the risk is 0 is the interior between A and B. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. That means like both would be positive.
Yes. So let's try and derive the same thing. Correct. We have portfolio value. Now I'm writing just as in terms of 1 minus S and S. So find the value of S for which this expression would be minimum. Minimum can be 0. Yeah, tell me. What is the S mean value? Ashish, you will tell me the answer.
Yes, sir. 1 minute.
Sigma 1 by sigma 1 plus sigma 2.
S mean will be sigma 1 upon sigma 1 plus sigma 2.
Yes,
This
denominator will become plus instead of minus.
Yeah. Correct. So both are positive. Yes or no? There is no negative term into that.
Yes, sir.
So you can find the value weight W1 and W2 such that my risk is 0. Is it okay? So the both extreme points where the rho would be +1 and the rho would be -1 is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can I move on to the point where rho can be anything between 1 and -1 but not equal to +1 and -1? So it's basically interior between 1 and -1 or -1 and 1. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Can we move on to the third part? When the row
Yes,
is
sir.
basically between -1 and 1. Right. So if I take again W1 is equal to 1 minus S and W2 is equal to S, I can give that the return of my portfolio would be the same. But my variance of my portfolio would be not different. So will this expression would give you the overall variance of your portfolio with the two assets, both are risky one.
Yes, sir.
Is it okay? Please respond.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct. Now, before drawing in this one into the mu sigma plane, what kind of expression it is? Is it a parabola?
Yes, sir.
With a variable s. All other things are known to you. Sigma 1, sigma 2 rho for a particular two assets will be known to you. Only thing is that which is unknown to you is s. Will it be a parabolic equation?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Correct. So now if I have to derive what would be the minimum is it, minimum risk, then you would see that the minimum risk which is possible might not be 0. Let's try and do that one. This would give you S mean. And what is the S mean value here? Can you tell me? Is it correct?
Yes, sir.
But one more thing, in the above two example, if above two example, where the rho is equal to -1 and rho was +1, in both the cases, if you put this S and 1 minus S into the, variance for your portfolio, you'll get the value equal to 0. But here, in this case, because of the parabolic nature, if I try to calculate what would be the minimum portfolio variance, the expression would be this one. Or other way, if I take rho is equal to either +1 or -1, I know that the numerator would become 0. So the minimum variance when the rho is not at the extreme point +1 and -1, then the risk might not be equal to 0. Is it clear? And similarly, you can calculate what would be the no, minimum return, sorry, return at when the risk is equal to 0. Is the two asset part clear?
Yes, sir.
Please raise
Yes,
your
sir.
hand if you have got it, except the finally showing it into the mu sigma plane, and then moving on to the multi-asset one. So let's try to draw this one. The line would be something like this. Pardon me if it is not, you know, correctly drawn, but you can see that the nature would be similar to this, and this is the point. This is the point where the variance would be minimum, or the risk would be minimum. So can you see that because of the parabolic nature, in a particular value of risk, there are two different returns which are possible. Can you see this part?
Yes, sir.
Right. So we do not take the lower one, we take the top part. Can you see the OneNote again?
Yes,
Yes, sir,
sir.
we can.
So this is the top what we take, where we try to get the highest possible return for a particular value of the risk, and that is called Markovitch efficient frontier. So not only with the two assets, you can actually go with the multi assets, and because with the multi asset we will have a different weights, and for the different weights, even if while drawing it, we have assumed that all the weights can be negative. It means that the short selling is allowed. You will have this particular value will have, for the different set of weights, with this particular value will have a different set of weights. So if you take 10 different assets and with a different weight factor, you try to minimize that one on a particular value of return. If you try to minimize, this is what you will get. You discard the lower return, you take only the top one, and that will make you the Markovitch efficient frontier. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Please raise your hand if you have got with the two assets, because the two assets are very simple, man. Ashish, any doubt? Anybody having any doubt?
No, sir. It's fine.
Correct. So last thing, this is for you, practice question. Just try to see that you have two assets, A1 and A2. These are the mean and the variance, not the variance, standard deviation. And for rho is equal to 1, 0.5, 0, minus 0.5, and minus 1. Find W1 and W2 where risk is minimum. We are not considering for a particular return. We are just trying to find it out, where the risk is minimum. Can you do this exercise? At least you try. Correct. If you won't be able to do it in one of the class, I will just try to explain that one. Is it okay? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Right. So now from the two assets, we move on to the next topic, which is for the multi assets. Portfolio optimization. Correct. And see that all assets are the risky one. So we take the same thing. Only thing is that this time we have an assets name A1 till AN. What we need to find it out the weight. So the transpose of the weight can be written in terms of a row vector W1, W2 till Wn. Correct. We take another one, another column vector, which where all are 1. This is just for writing the constraint, because what we have to write it as a W1 plus W2 plus Wn is equal to 1. Instead of writing this, we can write it as a E transpose and weight is equal to 1. This is just for writing a constraint. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So we take few more things. We say that C, a matrix which is n by n matrix, and this is a variance covariance matrix. So we will have a C, we will have a assets 1 to n, and this would have been 1 to n. So if I go with the first entry 1 and 1, first row, first column, then it would give me the variance for the first asset. If I go with the second entry, it means that the first row, second one, it will give me the covariance between the asset 1 and asset 2. Is it clear? So do you understand what this C matrix means, variance and covariance matrix?
Yes, sir. Basically, the diagonal elements
sir.
will be the variance and all other elements will be covariance.
Yes. Is it clear? All of you?
Yes, sir.
Now also I write as a when I'm writing M transpose, I'm writing it as a row vector, because if I'm written like here without a transpose, any vector for this class, we assume that this is a column vector. So this will give you a mean return, expected return. So I mean entry would be M1, M2 till Mn. Right. So my return can be given as portfolio return. Let's say that would be M transpose into weights, and my risk would be weight transpose C times weight. All of you, is there any problem in understanding this? Return and risk in terms of a matrix notation.
Sir, this expected return M is R, or is it something else?
What is expected returns?
Like M1, M2, M. So this is similar to R1 and R2 of the previous
So
one, or?
similar to mu1 and mu2, which we have given for the two assets.
Oh, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Correct. But here we are writing as an M, mean return M. Correct. So that
Okay,
you
sir.
can actually distinguish with the portfolio one and what is the known. So mu v is basically dependent upon the weights which we are giving. M is known to you. Is this expression clear to you? Yes or no? Risk part. How many of
Yes,
you
sir.
were not being able to grasp this? Please raise your hand. That this would be the risk. If it is clear to you, please raise your hand if you can grasp how it will be the risk could look like. Is there anybody who will have not understood? Because many of the time I have got a question related to how we are writing risk like this. Many of you are not.
Sir,
Okay.
this CW is C, sir, here. Is it like what?
Let me explain this. For two assets, not I'm writing it as a two assets. The C vector would be similar to like this: sigma 1 square, sigma 1 2. Sigma 2 1 is same as sigma 1 2. So this is how I will
It's
write.
coefficient matrix, basically. Yes,
Variance covariance matrix.
okay, sir, yes, sir.
And if I take W weight is equal to W1 and W2. So my portfolio variance would be something like this. In our previous case example, sigma 1 2 I have replaced with rho times sigma 1 and sigma 2. That's the only difference. So instead of writing covariance, I have written in terms of the correlation coefficient. And then because so this gives you W transpose, this gives you C, and this gives you W. If you multiply all, you will get the final expression as this. Is it okay? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
So now we come back and start writing our portfolio optimization problem. So we have a return, correct? And we have our variance. So what we like to do is to minimize our variance. So taking it as a quadratic, I can simply multiply with half, but that is not going to change my final objective function value. Correct? And subject to that, I want that my return should have a value mu. And one more thing is that the weight should be, sum of the weight should be equal to 1. Is this portfolio optimization problem, which I have written in terms of a matrix notation, is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anuj, Anvesha?
Sir, why are we writing half here? Half into?
Half we are writing because even if you have fx, maximizing and minimizing fx is same as if you are minimizing and maximizing half of fx. So if I take the first derivative, because okay, what will happen if I take the first derivative of this? What would be the expression? This you should know now because most of you have gone through the quadratic expression. Will it be, if I remove half, will it be 2 times CW? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Why? Ashish, can you explain? If I remove half, then my expression would be for the first derivative to become 0, it would be 2 times CW is equal to 0. So the 2 is basically, I can neglect it and I can simply write CW is equal to 0. But how can I write from there to there? Can I, if I do the first derivative of sigma V square in terms of with respect to the W, can I write it as a 2 times CW? Yes or no? Soumyadeep, because I am expecting this, you guys to know this. If you don't know, please say that you don't know.
No, sir, I'm understanding.
But when we, what is, I mean, my question is, when we can write this as in terms of 2CW and when we cannot write. Do you know that, Soumyadeep?
No, sir.
We can only write it. Ashish, can you answer this?
Sir, when W is not invertible, when W is invertible, I guess.
W is a column vector. W is
Then
a
it should be
column
C, I
vector.
guess, like C,
C?
like when C is not invertible.
No. Only thing when we can write it is when the C and C transpose is same. When we have a matrix A where A is equal to A transpose, we can write like this. Otherwise, we cannot. Now our expression would be different. So if you see all of your quadratic optimization problem, which you must have read in OR2, your matrix was a symmetric matrix. Was it there or not?
Yes, it was there.
Soumyadeep, do you remember this?
Yes, sir.
All right. So now how can we solve this one? How can we solve this one? Please tell me. Because this is a constraint type of problem, we can make it as an unconstrained problem. How can we make this one as an unconstrained problem? How we can convert this into the unconstrained problem? Can somebody tell me? All those people who have gone through OR2, please tell me. Yes, Sai Jagdish, all I am students who have gone through OR2 problem, OR2 course, can tell me how we can convert a constraint problem into an unconstrained problem.
Using Lagrangian multipliers.
So we use the Lagrangian multiplier and we change our function because we have a 2 constraint, we take a 2 Lagrangian multiplier and that becomes Is it okay? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
How
Yes,
many?
sir.
How many of you have how many of you don't know about the Lagrangian multiplication? I mean, using Lagrangian multiplier, we can convert constraint problem into an unconstrained one. How many of you don't know? All of you know. Please respond.
Yes, sir.
Only Akshat knows. What about other people? Either you can respond by raising your hand that you know, so that I will not go into that deep. Great. So now what I need to do to get the solution, I need to do the partial derivation because we have a 3 different set of unknown, weight lambda 1 and lambda 2. Lambda 1 and lambda 2 are scalar and W is having an n components. So this basically I'm writing it as a partial derivative with respect to W is equal to 0. We have to get with respect to W1, with respect to W2, with respect to W1. So we will have an expression here which will give me equal to 0. Next, I'll have one expression which will give me for the value of lambda 1 and for the one expression which will give me for the lambda 2 is equal to 0. Right?
Yes, sir.
Correct. How many of you remember what do you mean by the KKT condition? What is KKT condition? Please tell me what is the KKT condition?
Sir, if
Yeah.
the lambda is non-zero, then the black is 0 and vice versa.
How many of you have heard about the KKT condition? I mean, not heard about the KKT condition, then I have to explain that one before I actually go into that. How many of you have not heard about the KKT condition? Ashish, you have not heard about the KKT condition.
Yes, sir.
Have you heard about the KKT condition?
Yes, sir. I had studied it, but now I don't recollect it that much.
Should I explain or should I simply write the solution for this?
Sir, briefly explain, sir.
Okay. Let's start with a minimization problem. We have a minimization problem, minimization fx, and we have a constraint. Gx is equal to a constant number a. So in nonlinear programming, what we do, we try to find a direction, correct? From where we move from point x to x plus delta x, such that I can further minimize my objective function and the constraint is not being violated. I'm going with the equality constraint. Later on, you can say that this is, I mean, similar concept can be applied where there will be an inequality constraint. So many of the times you have seen that the direction which we are taking it as a negative of, if in case of minimization, negative of the first derivative. Do you know this?
Yes, sir. This is like gradient descent.
Yes. So or a sum multiplication of del f would also work, Newton-like methods. So what exactly this means? If anybody is having any doubt what I'm saying, please ask me. So the first thing we'll try to understand that if you are moving from x plus delta x, the first condition what I want is that because of the minimization, the value of f of x plus delta x should be less than f of x. And the second case, it should be satisfy my constraint. Is this 2 point clear to all of you? Then only I can say that I can move from x to x plus delta x and further minimize my objective function. Can I say this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So let's do the Taylor expansion of this. What would be the Taylor expansion? Of f of x plus delta x. Will it be fx? Yes or no? Will it be fx? Yes or no? Plus, can you tell me what will be the first order approximation of this Taylor series of f of x plus delta x?
Grad fx into del x.
Is it correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So I want it to be less than fx. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
What does this mean? That what I want is correct.
Yes, sir.
Right. It means that I want in the direction of delta x such that if I have a gradient vector, if I multiply in that particular del x can be seen as on a step length. So you have a direction in which you have to move and plus how much you have to move. So delta x corresponds to your step length. So when I'm moving, I'm making sure is that mathematically this should follow this expression. I do the same thing with our constraint one. So I can say that it is gx plus del g transpose delta x should be equal to, sorry, it is a, should be equal to g of x or should be equal to a, which is equal to g of x. Can I say this for the constraint? This is the first order approximation, which should be
Yes,
equal
sir.
to a, and a is also equal to g of x. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Great. Right. So what this comes out to be, that should be equal to 0. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please give a little attention here. You have two different expressions with respect to the step length, which I'm calling it as a delta x. To get a point from x to delta x, correct? To get a point from x to delta x, sorry, x to x plus delta x, what I need is that its dot product with the gradient vector should be negative plus its dot product with the gradient vector of the constant should be equal to 0. It means that this should be perpendicular. If the dot product of two vectors is equal to 0, that is only possible when both are perpendicular to each other.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So let's say that we have a gx. This is the direction of del g. So my del x can be either this one or this one. Both can have a del x value. Both are possible one.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. Now my del f can be anything. Let's say that my del f is this one. Sorry. What I want is del f dot delta x should be negative. It means that the angle between del f and del x should be more than 90
Greater
degrees.
than 90.
Right?
Yes, sir.
So I'll choose this one.
Yes, sir.
Right, sir.
Correct. If it is something like this, then I'll choose this del x. Correct.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Only one condition. When we cannot find del x which satisfy both the condition, when del f and del g are linearly related. Are you getting my point? If I say del, this is the del f point, or this can be the del f1. They are just a a scalar multiplication of each other. Del g, del f, we can get it by using a scalar multiplying with the scalar quantity. I can get a del f, or vice versa. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
In that case, I cannot get in this case cannot get del x, which can say that 0 and is equal to 0, less than 0 and it is equal to 0. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear to all of you? And this is what is the
Yes, sir.
This is what is the KKT condition. It means that del f transpose is equal to lambda times del g transpose. Or let's remove this transpose part. It means that I cannot further improve and we have reached to an optimal condition. If I cannot further move where I can improve my objective function, it means that that is the minimum one. How many of you have understood this KKT condition?
Sir, can you please repeat last sentence, sir? Actually, my network just got lost.
Which statement? I'm saying that I cannot get from where I should move from a particular point x to x plus delta x. I cannot get. It means that I cannot further improve my objective function.
Yes, sir.
So if I cannot further improve my objective function, that is the optimal value of my objective function.
Yes, sir.
So the optimal value of the objective function we can get when we have a linear relationship between the first derivative of the objective function and the constraint, equality constraint. Correct?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
This is the reason behind what we get into the KKT condition. So I mean, is it okay? And we can jump onto our portfolio optimization problem.
Yes, sir.
Please raise your hand if I can simply jump onto my optimization problem, portfolio optimization problem. All of you, if you have got this, because now I will not talk about KKT and other thing. Right. So we have our optimization problem with respect to weight, lambda 1 and lambda 2, which is given by this expression. So what are the known thing and what are the unknown things here? The known things are the variance covariance matrix, return of each of this asset, expected return, and mu is a user defined function, user defined value, which says that I want at least this much of mu, or my return should be this much, where I'm trying to minimize my overall risk. So I'm trying to find the value of W. So W has become an decision variable. If I do the first, using the Lagrangian condition, let's try with first part, del L by del W is equal to 0. I'll get Is it okay? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what I have written is CW, because if you take the transpose of this, it becomes C transpose and W. C transpose is equal to C. So CW would also be equal to 0. So from here, what I can write about W? What I have done is I have taken the transpose in all the sides. Correct? Because C is equal to C transpose, variance covariance matrix. So C transpose is equal to C. So I am just writing C, and it becomes W. Here it has become lambda 1 M plus lambda 2 E. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Correct. And so we can write W as C inverse lambda 1 M plus lambda 2 E. This is the first expression. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Right. So what would be the other expressions? I mean, please look into that one and tell me. What else I need to do? I mean, just look into this one. If you have any question, please ask. Otherwise, tell me what would be the next step.
Mu minus MTW equal to 0.
What else we need to do? Yeah, please. All of you who know the KKT, I mean Lagrangian multiplication method, can we tell me what next thing we should do?
So we take derivative with other like lambda and lambda 1 and lambda 2.
Right. Anything else, Soumyadeep?
No, so apart from taking the derivative and equating with them 0, what else?
So what you are saying is I'll put del by lambda 1 is equal to 0. Correct? And
Yes,
del
sir.
L by lambda 2 is equal to 0.
Yes, sir.
Correct? And then we'll get one more expression. Correct?
Correct.
Right. Why we are doing this? Because what I want is my expression should satisfy M transpose, no, weight should be equal to mu.
Yes.
The weight we have already calculated. Can I put it here and I say that my expression should also satisfy M transpose time the weight which we have, which this is the weight which we are looking for.
Yes, sir.
Correct?
W
Which should be equal
main
to mu.
basically.
This is the same thing as saying that the first derivative I'm making it is equal to 0. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
How many of you have got this point? How many of you have got this point? Please raise your hand. Anuj? Anuj.
Yes, yes, sir, I got it.
So we will put the value of m, correct? And the final expression of which will come as, I'm writing in a different color so that you need to, if you need to derive, you can get it. And for the third equations, which is E transpose W is equal to, 1, this is what we will be getting. So this is the second equation, this is the third equation, and the first equation which we had got is this is the first equation. Right. Everything is done. You solve this one, you get the value of all lambda 1, lambda 2, and vector W. Actually, vector W you can once you know the lambda 1 and lambda 2 value, then you can put it back here and you can get the value of what should be the weight. Can you do this? Can you solve this one? Can you solve this one? Please respond.
Yes, sir, we can.
How? I mean, I'm going little slow so that if anybody having any question can tell me that there is some issue. From equation 2 and 3, can we, all things are known except lambda 1 and lambda 2. So can we solve for the value of lambda 1 and lambda 2, and we'll put that back
Yes, sir.
put that back into the equation 1, and we can get the value of W.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I give a pause for 2 minutes, and I want everybody to look into that one and ask me whatever questions which is coming into their mind regarding derivation, regarding understanding, anything. Ashish, have you left? Tuhin, Vidit Gupta?
Yes, sir, I'm there.
So
Sir, I guess they were having some class, I think from 12 to 1, so I think they left.
no, but I guess 11 to 1 is the class for this one, huh?
No, sir, it's 11 to 12.
I know, but
So they left.
12 o'clock is with the same slot what we are having, F slot, I guess. So it cannot have 12 to 1 can be extra class, but cannot be a normal class. Yeah, is everything clear to you till now?
Yes, sir.
Please raise your hand if you have got this, then we will move ahead, all of you. Right, so let's start. and see the tougher part first, and then we talk about the simpler way of solving this. So if I say the equation 2 and 3, I don't know whether you remember or not. From determinant classes, you can use a Cramer's rule. So just look from equation 2 and 3, we can write lambda 1 So we put for the expression here, we put, you know, for the lambda 2, whatever is there with the right hand side, which is mu and 1. Here for whatever is the coefficient here for the lambda 1, we will replace with the right hand side, which is mu and 1. And the denominator is clear to you. Do you remember Cramer's rule? How many of you, I mean, have heard that Cramer's rule? This is how you solve using a determinant. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
I don't expect that you guys are knowing it, but it's not very tough. You can look into that one, how we can actually, using the Cramer's rule, can solve for a different variable problem. And if I put back this one into my expression for the weight, it would be again a very large expression. So whatever the lambda 1 and lambda 2 value which we have got, if I put it back into the equation 1, this is what we will be getting it. Right? Can you remember this expression? Yes or no? Please tell me. Please tell me, can you remember this? Yes or no? Is it very clumsy, right? Akshat.
Yes.
Soumyadeep.
Yes, sir.
Right. That's why you don't need to remember all these things. Only thing, like looking, you should know that this is the way we can get the different value of lambda 1 and lambda 2, and correspondingly we can get for a particular return mu, what should have been the weight. Rather, the new concept which has come, which talks about two-fund theorem. And next class we'll talk about the two-fund theorem, because that would be too much, for today. Instead, all the three conditions, I will try to prove that one. Please listen carefully. That if I know for a two particular return, what are the, for the minimum risk for a two particular return, what are that risk values and what are the weights, I can calculate for any return value I can get, because all the three conditions which we are looking for are linearly, are the linear function. So instead of, writing it and getting the value using all those big expression like what we have done for the Cramer's rule, what we need to do is to find two solutions. And that finding two solutions won't be a tough one, because what we do, we assume lambda 1 and lambda 2, once it is 1 and 0 and another time it is 0 and 1. And we will get two solutions, and from those two solutions we'll try to say that whatever possible values for particular mu, we can actually get what would be the minimum risk. Are you getting the point? Because this is what we will cover on the next class. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Understood.